This playthrough is rated M for mature.
ここがグランギニョール。なんでこんないかにも何か出てきそうな作りなんでしょうか。
ここのオーナーが変わり者だったらしい。ホラーやスプラッターな芝居ばかりやっていた。パリの劇場をリスペクトしているそうだ。
そんなこと言われたらもっと怖くなるじゃないですか。
俺にキレられてもな。
早乙女一花だっけ？その人はこういう場所が好きだったの？
市川、よくここでライブしてた。インディーズバンドにハマってたんだ。当時はバーチャドールなんてなかった頃だな。今だったら間違いなくハマってるだろうが。
このメロディー、ソーンの曲です。
ランドマークで聴いた曲だ。ここにいるのは間違いないな。
大丈夫ですか、修吾先輩。ここで待っていても。
いや、大丈夫だ。あいつが本当に一花の亡霊じゃないのか、ちゃんと確かめたい。
よし、それじゃあ行こう。ミュウとソウを何としても止めないと。最悪の結末だけは避けなきゃ。
そうだな。
Greetings and salutations, viewers. Vauldemare here with the Caligula Effect Overdose, and today we're going to be finishing the game. I decided to show the ending of, well, I showed the last area of the game, I guess. I could have gone straight to the ending, but I kind of wanted, over the course of this episode, just talk about the game, what I expected from it, what happened with it, and other such things. Obviously, as you know, I decided to finish it for the most part. I don't think I'm going to 100% it because there is a lot of stuff you can do in this game. But we're in the final area of the game, the Garigula, or whatever it's called. Oh yeah, well, I guess if you've played this game before, there's certain areas you can't get into, and this is like post-game stuff right here, world reward, when you find certain words or phrases. God, there's a lot of things in this game I didn't even show when I first stopped, because I only played for maybe the first hour or so. And then I quit, just trying to get like a first impressions of the game. Now, when I made a joke about how it was kind of like a Persona clone, that's pretty close to the nose. After playing through the game, it has a lot of similarities to Persona, without being a direct, straight up copy of the game. Oh yeah, over the course of the game, when you're in certain areas, people will talk to you on Wire, which is basically any social media network where they start talking on the side, talking about like what's going on here. Oh, and if it isn't obvious to anyone watching right now, this whole episode's gonna be spoilers. So if you haven't played any of the game at all, although I hopefully you didn't pay attention to the beginning part either, the rest of the game is gonna be spoilers. So, and I will be showing the ending too. So if you really want to play the game and enjoy it for yourselves or not, then I would suggest I might as well take these, even though I could do these guys in New Game Plus or Clear Game Data, but we'll talk about that whenever we get to that, because I'm going to show, oops, I forgot to put on auto. I'll go over the battle mechanics when we do the actual final bosses of the game or whatever. I kind of got used to it pretty quickly. There is some nuances to this, so I got to give the game credit that that it isn't just, well, I mean, okay, depending on what level you are, it could be just a straight button masher type of thing, and let the game handle it by doing the AI stuff. But if you choose the harder difficulty or trying to play at lower levels, then the game can be a bit more intense or interesting, especially with the game mechanics. Like I said, I'll go over a lot of that stuff when we actually get to the boss itself. Right now, I'm just collecting enigmas. They're basically, or not enigmas, spheres and stuff like that. Where does that take us? Huh. Well, obviously, we have to go through this music hall. And if you didn't watch the intro to this game or watching it now, music is a very big theme to this game. And I made a joke in the first episode about how an idol singer or whatever is the main boss of the game, and well, I was right about that too. I mean, you see it, but there are some nuances and explanations to it over the course of the game. I guess I could talk about that. Basically, what happened is these virtual dolls, or whatever you want to call it, were created to basically bring, joy to everyone. And there was two of them. There's the one that's joined you, who's Aria. And by the way, I'm probably just going to skip everyone. I'm already over-leveled for the final boss anyway. I guess I could be reading the little things there. I guess if you want to read it, you can. Oh, you can also respond on wire to the characters as well. I might do that before I show the... let me see. Oh, these red ones, these red spheres or whatever, they're closed until you beat like a specific group of enemies in the game. Usually the way you can find out is they're either like super higher powered, or if you click on them and inspect them, if you see a character with like a red dot above them, it'll show that they are tied to that sphere. And if you finish them off, I guess technically you're not killing these people, because at least from the good guy's point, you're knocking them out and turning them back to people who are aware of the fake reality. I don't know if I talked about that during the initial first impressions part of the game, but yeah, we're basically in a virtual world. Digimon, digital monsters. Did I make that joke when I played the game? Maybe I did. Okay, let's see. Where did all these places go? Okay, we need a key, so we have to find all this stuff before we go on. I was wondering why the arrows weren't pointing me towards certain directions. I'm basically just kind of exploring the place to get my bearings. Oh yeah, you can either have a mini map or an open map. I tend to leave the open map even if it's a bit clogged up or whatever, but I just like knowing where I can go at all times. But anyway, there's so yeah, there are digital monsters or any famous. Or, Sword Art Online. I mean, I didn't say the notorious name of the anime that shall not be named. Sorry, if you like that anime, that's fine. I like the first season of it, and then after that, I was like, what the fuck is this? And I lost interest really fast after that, and I was like, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not wasting. I'm one of those people that won't hate watch stuff. If I don't like it, I'll just stop. I'm not gonna keep watching it if I don't find it interesting. Sometimes I can get a little. Sometimes I'll watch a bit more or do things and certain things if I for a little bit maybe get super invested. I forgot what they call that, where you almost want to finish it because you've invested too much time into it and your mind's like, no, you must do this. You spent 100 hours on this. You must finish it. I guess you could say the same for this game. I'll admit, when I first played in the first impressions, I was kind of like, I don't know if I really want to finish this. I might just send it back almost immediately there afterwards. But I decided to give it a little bit of a chance because some of the reviews for this were about 7s and 8s out of 10s. I'm like, okay, there's got to be something here that maybe I'm missing, But I've said before, I've kind of lost interest in a lot of more modern RPGs. I don't know why. There's just something about a lot of modern ones that it's either tone or design, or maybe I've played all of them so many times or so many RPGs over the course. 140 level character. Oh yeah, over the course of the game, you'll find NPCs like this who aren't specifically students of the school or anything like that. They'll just be there, and they're part of side quests. Well, I'm not a filthy swine. You're the king of the abyss, huh? Well, you are a level 140. I wonder how high level you can get in this game. Probably 140 if that's the case. Although if you play your game right, you can actually beat monsters of a higher level. Although it gets a little bit difficult. You definitely have to rely on stats and tactics if you want to beat certain high level characters or whatever. But yeah, maybe I've just been disillusioned because I've played a lot of... I think I talked about it in the first impressions how there were so many JRPGs I played for the longest time that were just so boring or uninteresting or boring gameplay, or the story was just and I was just like, no, I don't want to play this anymore. And I just got so used to that and frankly, there's a lot of RPGs, especially Japanese RPGs that have come out that are just just super, just not interesting or boring, or the game mechanics are just overloaded with like unnecessary grinding. And you know, you're thinking, well, you played games during the early stages of RPGs. You played Dragon Quest and all that grinding, but I don't know, maybe it's just better use of my time or something like that. I can kind of still play those games without too much issue, but a lot of modern ones, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I don't want to invest my time into something like that. Because I don't know. There's a lot of them that like this game kind of uses. I mean, look at this. We've already gone through this like epic last dungeon, and is it just me or is all the floors and rooms look exactly the same? Because it is, you know. At least in Persona, well, I guess you could say Persona had randomly generated dungeons. And like, well, this isn't randomly generated for one. This is just the dungeon. If it was randomly generated, I could kind of understand why they use the same design, except for Persona, the last Persona that had designated dungeons, which I think I prefer that over the random generation of Persona 4 and the other types or whatever. Oh, here's some of the ones I don't know. I don't want this episode to be like, you know, 5. I'll just mark it to come back. I'll just do it off screen because I might do some of the. I don't know if I'll do all the new Game Plus stuff. I might do some of the stuff that maybe unlocks a few achievements or something like that. That won't take me too long. But this game definitely has a lot of busy work in it. Let me tell you. When it comes to like unlocking all the students' true personalities and everything like that, and that can take a long time. And the problem with that though is that almost all the students that you can interact with, like a lot of them repeat. There's almost no unique regular students you could talk to except for your party members or whatever, which I'll go over that during the last like save point or whatever. But yeah, there's like 527 students. I'll show the map of it here eventually, of students that you can interact and basically become close friends with. And the reason to do that is to unlock like extra stuff for your character. Like if you certain students will give you increased stats, for example, to your character, which can be nice. Then some characters will give you passives, which passives are just if you swip over to your equip screen, you can equip passives and you can get like, you know, straight stat increases, going quicker in battle, casting stuff faster, that type of thing. I don't know if I ever went over the equip stat screen, but I think one of the interesting aspects about this game is that a lot of stuff is based off personality, mannerisms, and thought processes, if that makes sense. Like attacks will... Well, I don't know if there's a theme to the attacks per se, but they'll have a description of like... Or, well, not a description per se, but they'll say what they are, like true character, audio, you know, jobs, and all this other stuff's kind of neat. Same with defense, man-eater, all this. Because it has to do with like personality and what you think you are in this like reality world. Because I don't know if I went through all the details when I played the. No, I don't know if I definitely won't read all this stuff out, but oh yeah, yeah. Someone's waiting for us because we got to beat them to unlock that door, right? So it's basically a boss. So basically, we're going to be fighting. I know I didn't show this during the playthrough, but basically, we're going to be fighting a gauntlet of, well, not back to back to back, but we're going to fight all the bosses of the game. Basically, they're called the musicians. Basically, the musicians are more personalized characters that have been sucked into the world of Mobius for the most part. Same with us. We're just like one of the few people that realize we're in a fake world and we want to get out of here. The musicians are the people who want to basically keep this fake world. Sweet Pea. Her big thing is that other than being like, you know, the girl that likes cutesy things. Now, you know how I said this place is a fake world that people pop into? Well, think about it. Like, if you could change yourself in your avatar, what you looked like, would you make yourself in a fake world, or would you do something different? Well, that's how everyone is in this game. That's the big twist, is that not everyone is who they seem to be in this game. Sweet Pea, for example, I don't know. I guess I'll talk about it over the boss thing here. Well, it depends on what the thing is. Yeah, Sweet Pea, the cute, super cutesy girl. Yeah, when you beat the musicians, there's supposed to be kind of a sense that you maybe break him out of like this whole want to not leave Mobius type of thing. But they're back to normal, or they're back to their old ways. Well, part of the scenes I didn't show. Well, that's creepy. I don't want to play tea time with you, little girl. Especially now, what I know about you, anyway. Ew. I wouldn't want to eat that, especially with my blood. Better red than dead, right? Or cute than dead, I guess, in this case. By God, she's coming right for us! Lovely fairy, huh? Yeah, you keep telling yourself that. Oh, well, there's the big twist. In the real world, Sweet Pea is actually like a 31-year-old overweight businessman or whatever that went to this world because he liked cute things. And obviously, if you're a 31-year-old overweight man who likes cute things and wants to dress like a girl, people are going to look at you weird. So obviously, she went to this world, or I guess, does he identify as a she in this case? Well, in this character, I'm just going to refer to her as a she in this case. But, oh yeah, and every character has like a music theme around them. Obviously, her theme is cutesy music. Am I even equipped with the right characters for this fight? Well, I'm over-leveled anyway for this, so, and I can go over combat stuff again. We showed it before, but basically the idea of the game is that the game has a thing where you kind of have like a cognition or cognizance of like the fight, but it's not fortune telling because it's not guaranteed that these will go at that. Like if you're just because my percentage is 95 doesn't mean I'm going to hit Sweet Pea with its attack or whatever. It's also supposed to kind of give a vague idea of what the enemy is going to be doing. So, for example, she's going to be shooting her eye beams at us and all this other stuff. So, the way to beat a lot of these harder fights, if it was hard, is you kind of have to look at your abilities and decide what'll work when, you know. Like, if I was just going through weaker enemies, I'd just use double trigger because I'm at a high enough level that I can just browbeat them to death without any strategy. If I was playing like hard mode or something like that, maybe I'd have to think about it some more. And each of my characters' abilities, like, you know, you've got standard attack, then you've got vintage strike, which means I just charge in, smack him, has a chance of launching them on that. And then there's disruption trigger, which basically means you can, if someone's like attacking you or about to attack you, there's a chance you could also push them back with this attack. Shadow Pierce, this allows you to destroy shields. Rapid Fire, this just shoots a bunch of bullets, usually has a higher attack percentage, but maybe doesn't do as much damage. Usually this attack's meant to build up what we call risk. Risk is basically the enemy's like, I guess, risk like affects a couple things. Like risk will affect if certain attacks work as well as you want them to, as well as breaking them. So, and breaking them means that they basically become like out of it for a few seconds, and then you can either get better to hit, more damage, possible critting is increased, all this other stuff. Impulse Spinner. Oh, there's certain attacks that basically do more damage if certain characters are in certain states. Like this one is if they're in the air, it'll do more damage. This one fires a bunch of bullets, and if they're risk bar, which if you see on the character right under it, there's a bar, and then there's a number to the left of that bar, and that tells you like what risk level they are. So if she was at risk level 4, and I hit with this attack, there's a chance it would launch her into the air. Launch her in the air! Or we playing Final Fantasy 13. And then 9 Sense, this does stuff if you're at risk high level 5. I'm not going to describe everyone's attacks or anything like that. So for this fight, I'm probably just going to end up, I might do some buffing, but just for most of it, I'm just going to attack. Because at her level, I don't really need to do anything super fancy. This is Kinsuke right here. He is a former musician. He's one of the first bosses you fight, but he joined your side. So that's why he's not a... I wonder if maybe I should have guarded first. Oh well. But I'll talk about him later when we get to it. This is Nanako. She joins you, I think she's one of the last characters. Well, not the last character. She's one of the last characters to join you. She's kind of the internet tech character. She's the one who like knows what's going on and follows the web and all this other stuff. And then this is Ayane. She is a lady who doesn't like touching people, and there's a bit more to her than you realize, which we'll discuss that here in a second. But I don't want to go into too much. But yeah, she's gonna let. I mean, I probably don't even really need to buff. I could probably just go in and just start browbeating her and finish her off. Because look at that, I've done 2 of my attacks as my main character. I've almost finished her off, you know. Of course, we're not fighting the final boss, so I might just auto the rest of these, the rest of this one, and just let my characters go at it. Because, like I said, since she's not that much higher of a level, I can just kind of browbeat her to death. So at least, I mean, you can. I mean, there could be some. Oh, I wasted all my. Oh yeah, this game does not have money, so you never have to worry about grinding for money. The only thing you really have to grind for is levels, pretty much. And SP is kind of your magic of the game, which you can run out of it. But the thing about this is that SP is used for everything in combat except for like running around. So if you want to escape the combat, you need to have SP. If you don't have SP, you can't run away. That happened to me once when I was trying to fight this like over the higher encounter, and I couldn't run away, and I was super pissed off because I'm like, you should always be able to run away no matter what, even if it doesn't succeed. We'll talk about that later. Yep, you lost us again, sweaty old man. Looks like we knocked her out of her stupor. Yeah, in this game, if you defeat enemies, usually you knock them out of the use control over them. Oh yeah, you. Yeah, she's brainwashed, huh? Excuse us. Oh yeah, Mifue or whatever. Yeah, when she runs into Sweet Pea, she gets really pissed off at her. Yeah, she's a fatty in the real world, but hey man, if you're fat, that's fine, as long as you don't. But Mifue really hated fat people. Like, it was ridiculous. You're like, the first time she got all pissed off about fat people, at first you kind of find it funny just because of how outlandish it is. But then afterwards, you're like, she keeps going, and you're like, all right, calm down. We get it. Jeez, you know. And there's a story to her. Yeah, she, you know, going to the real world means he'll go back to being an fat old man who, even though they like cute things, will be ridiculed for it. Oh, Sunflower is what Mifue is called, introduced herself to Sweet Pea as, because we were trying to infiltrate her tea party. It's like we're going out to war, like we're having another tea party. Or Alice in Wonderland tea party. So if you escape this place, you'll get a diet, wear cute clothes, and basically be... Would you be I guess you'd be a transvestite in that case? Or is that cross-dresser? I don't know. I mean, I'm not here to make claims or know what I'm talking about. I'm just trying to make a logical, like, oh, what does this mean, you know? Yeah, Thorn is one of the bad guys. She's not, well, I guess she's technically the main bad guy, but in a sense, but yeah. Hey, in today's society, man, you shouldn't say stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. And no, I'm not gonna. I mean, this game does talk about basically, like, this game does go kind of into like, who are you? Kind of like a cyberpunk game where, like, at what point, what are you at a point? Like, what defines you? And this game kind of has a lot of scenes like that. So if you're like one of those people that's not, doesn't like those types of conversations, or is really like one mindset when it comes to these things, you might not like this game, and you might want to just, you know, turn this off and go away, you know, that type of thing. Like, if you don't like it, that's fine. I perfectly understand that thing. Just to let you know, that's what a lot of this game is about, you know. And some people don't like that stuff, and that's fine, as long as you don't hurt others with that, you know. Just you know, whatever. I'm not here to tell you what to think or how to think. I'm just telling you what this game has, you know. Oh yeah, after we beat her, we opened up the next door. This might be a long episode. I was gonna make it just basically one super long episode. I might cut it if it's like so long it's ridiculous. We'll see. Because you have to fight all the musicians, and there's 8 musicians or something like that. So there's a lot. There's a few bosses, but I'll probably not skip the dialogue, but I'll probably speed through it a little bit quicker because all I'm trying to do is, I was letting their voice actors talk, that type of thing. But for the others, I might just give you a glimpse of how they talk. But this is one of those episodes that's just supposed to, for those who didn't want to play through the game and just wanted to see the ending. And I'll probably show the other ending as well to the game. I might make that a separate episode where I talk about that sort of thing. Actually, can I teleport to one of the other floors here? No, it just returns me to the entrance. Would that be faster? Might be, actually. Yeah, after you beat certain levels, you can use these save points to teleport to other parts of the dungeon. Oh yeah, I didn't show you that because I started the episode right when we entered the building here. Which is nice if you want to go... if you're trying to... Oh, I have to go through... I think I went through the left door? Which is weird because now that I've reset it, it only shows me the exclamation point of the door I'm supposed to be at. It's not going to show me like, oh, it's going to re-show the original areas you're supposed to walk into to get back there. I guess the game assumed I would just run back, instead of teleporting to the front entrance. But yeah, you'll have to go, if you want to like 100% this game, you will have to go back to old dungeons and find certain things or talk to certain people if you want to do all the student quests or whatever. I really don't think it's necessary. I think at the trophy system, there isn't a thing for doing all of them. I think you only have to do like so many of them, like 100 or something like that. And you can, what's the word? You can get the trophies for it. You have to do so many students, and I think there's also some students that are highlighted. I'll show you here really quick in the causality link. There are students that are marked with these specific like highlights right here. These like I don't know, white star or whatever you want to call them. These are class presidents or leaders or whatever you want to call them. There's an achievement if you do, or achievement trophy, Steam, whatever you're playing this on, if you do all of them. And each class has a president, which there's 3 years of school classes in this game, and there's 6 groups per class. So yeah, if you see it in the corner, 524 people to talk to. Good lord, game. I mean, this kind of reminds me of Xenoblade, actually, except Xenoblade, I don't know, I think it did a much better job with character interactions and talk to them, and you actually wanted to do all their quests. A lot of these, frankly, I'll tell you folks, I fast-forwarded through most of their dialogue options, because I was just like, I don't care. Like, because a lot of them repeated. Like, there's only a few then that have somewhat different stories, but after a point, after doing them for a little while, because I just wanted to see, like, I tried doing the ones that gave you just the stat increases for your main character. Your stats are called, like, personalities, so your personality increases, so I think we showed that before, but if I look at my stat screen, see how it says personality, HP, attack, defense, whatever? Yeah, it increases your personality stat in that one thing. Oh yeah, and each of the members has like a little chair they sit on and their stats, which is kind of neat. I like I'll admit that, like, for being a Persona Light game, there's a lot of details in this that I kind of appreciate. Like how all the characters have, one of the big twists in the game is that, I mean, Persona, each character, the main characters you had are during the tarot card characters you'd interact with, they'd all have their own stories or personalities or twists or things you had to overcome to be friends with them or whatever. This one, every character has a personality quirk or issue that they have with themselves. Like, one person will be afraid of women, or one person will have hated their parents, and all this other stuff. So each character has like a stat-specific description of what they are. So on the wire thing, whoops, no, that's the phone call thing. This is the one where you can like send text to either the group as a whole, or you can talk to the people individually. And really, you only do this if you want to just get weird anecdotes or what their attitudes towards things are, like how they view things or whatever. And then you could talk to there's no reason to do that for the students. Most of them have like repeating dialogue when it comes to that, so it's like, I get they're trying to be realistically by letting you talk to everyone in the game, but I wish it would have been more interesting if it was just extended the people who joined your team, the companions or whatever you want to call them, and just extend their dialogues more and kind of just ignore the, oh, this must be for treasures and stuff like that, I bet. I should just go straight to the endings in this, because otherwise this episode will take forever. Depending, at some point I might end up just skipping, showing the oh, I'll have to go through it anyway. I might just end up skipping some of the dungeon, or fast forwarding through it, so that way you can kind of see what I did, and then talking after it's fast forwarded or whatever. We'll see what I do with that, because I don't want this to be like a 2-hour episode, you know, that type of thing. I mean, I could make it as long as I want, frankly, because, you know, there's no limit anymore. Not only back in the day where it had to be like 10-minute videos or something like that. Remember that? Where you could only put up like 10-minute videos, and there's like 15-minute videos, and at some point they were able to just put up like, what's the longest videos you can put up? Like 10 hours or something stupid like that. That's ridiculous. And most of them are just meme stuff too. It's like 10 hours of, you know, Hercules, or not Hercules, He-Man going, yeah, you know, like, well, if people want to watch it, I guess, or leave it in the background, why not? But, yeah, this must be the next musician, maybe? Okay, this is going to be the next boss. And yeah, this one will talk about, this villain's, like, little issue as well. Because, yeah, every character, the bad guys and the good guys, all have their own issues. It's just, in this game, the main characters are based off of like, what they want to escape from, like escaping from their sins or whatever, while the bad guys, their thing is desire, what they desire the most, if that makes sense. Like, there's desire in both of them, but the bad guys are powered by desire more than anything. We're powered by, you know, wanting to escape and happiness and all this other stuff. So it's a haunted house, huh? Pain. Thorn's the villain, and she's into gothic rock. Making a point, people. Making a point. No. Well, Thorn's wishes are to, I mean, you can't beat up a ghost, can you? I mean, Casper's a great ghost, but catharsis effect. That's what gives us our powers, by the way, or affects this world. She doesn't like ghosts, apparently. Ah! It's a creepy man-child. Or a neat, or whatever you want to call him. Oh god, I forgot about that. Shizuna, her big thing is she's supposed to be this quite quiet girl who kind of softly speaks, but then like super yells really loud. That's her big thing. So I think she or Mifune are probably my favorite in terms of character designs. I don't know if their characters are the best, but they're the cutest looking out of the characters, I think. No, sorry, he doesn't want your bento box anymore. Sounds vulgar. Yeah, all the musicians that we like somehow like released or saved or whatever, they had been brainwashed by Thorn again. So no matter what we've done. Oh, okay. I thought I only had. For a second, I thought I had 3 characters. I was like, wait, what? Shona Doll's big thing is he shoots like lasers. He shoots lasers and whatever those things are. Unfortunately, if I do that, he'll probably stun us or whatever. Because some abilities will do a thing where they stun you. It means that basically you stop attacking. I was going to set myself to... actually, might do melee counter and see if that... Well, I'll show you. Well, no, it's... Okay, so... Is it this one first? Or that'll get him... That'll get him in the way or whatever. Kensuke's abilities are like... Other than attacking, he also has a thing called guarding attack, which means he sets up a guard, and if he gets attacked, he automatically gets to do one of his function. Like he'll get like a free smack in or stun the enemy. How am I missing? I've got 95% to hit. Well, I didn't buff myself, but I didn't think I really needed to. Yeah, sorry, these fights are definitely not going to be like super like tactical or whatever. I'm basically just going to browbeat the enemy to death because it's easier for me to do that. There's no reason for me to At my levels, there's no reason for me to do that. Maybe for the final boss, maybe. And the only reason I'm leaving these characters in is because I think they're some of the lowest levels out of all my people, so I'm just leaving them in so they can get some free levels. Well, you just got beaten up, dude. That's what you're doing here. Yeah, all it takes is punching. All it takes is violence to break people out of the thing. Yeah, stop yelling, lady. We're right here. Yeah, that was her thing. Like, after they fought him, she said she'd go to lunch with him, and he's like, I've never talked to girls before! Pretty much. Or actually, people in general. I'm sorry, dude. You got brainwashed. Yeah, you don't want to go deaf. Not with her around, anyway. What was, yeah, basically, Shonen Doll. Oh, Shonen Doll, I guess is his name. Shonen Doll's big thing is he's basically a NEET. Like his room is like, you know, filled with trash. You probably, I don't know if you've either seen an anime or you've heard about it from the news in Japan about how some people just live in their homes. He's pretty much like that, and he just likes his solitude. Well, I mean, we saved a musician, I guess, and sent it, and hopefully wants to go back to the real world. I think we have to go back to the main entrance now. I might just follow the way back in this time. But yeah, Shonen Doll's saying is he just wants to. He didn't understand people and just wanted to be left alone, that type of thing. So he liked solitude. I don't know what his exact issue was. We could probably look it up later, because each character has like a stat screen that tells you like what their phobias or whatever, or their personalities are, and everything. Because I don't know if I want to go back to. Well, this game is pointing me into the direction I need to go to, so I need to. Oh, there's no connection that way. Okay, so we'll just do that. And since I'm such a high level, the enemies aren't automatically attacking me, because at certain. Oh, I didn't know there was like. Oh, exploited dolls, huh? I don't think I don't have to fight those, do I? I don't think I do. But anyway, but yeah, if you're at a certain level, these enemies, if you're below level, these enemies will automatically, like, if they're in range, they'll target you and attack you immediately. But since I'm such a high level, they won't straight up go after me unless I purposely interact with them by doing this. If I do the circle button, at least on the PS3 or PS4 controller, it targets an encounter with them. So if you want to gain levels and stuff like that, probably if I was playing hard mode or maybe a new game plus, it gets hard to gain experience after a certain point, unless you want to grind for super high level characters in certain dungeons. That this game has a lot of like areas where high level characters are, and you're supposed to go back later and get the spheres. Beat them, get the spheres. But the thing is, most of the spheres you get from beating those guys, maybe it's based on when you get it or whatever, but most of them aren't like super awesome equipment that you can equip to like increase your stats. So if you somehow get lucky and like beat a character super early, you're like, oh, the reward of getting the experience and getting an item, and then the item's like not that much better than what you already had, and you're like, what a jip. Yeah, that's kind of one of the more disappointing things about the game, is that there's not. I mean, maybe you have to. Maybe the point is to unlock the ability by getting the sphere and then finding improved versions of it, because you can fight bosses and other such things that give you improved versions of personalities and stats that you acquire later on. But I don't know. I never saw it worth it. Like, I'm still using the same attack bonuses that I got from like many like episodes ago or whatever you want to call it. But come on, Naruko, or whatever your name is. You gotta keep going. I think I'll discuss their. Well, I guess I could start doing it now about like what the characters' like phobias and personalities and all this other stuff is. No, I'm gonna solve it in here. Is the main. The one interesting thing about the game is that even if you choose male or female or not, a lot of the characters don't specifically mention that you're male or female, only in a few instances. And the reason they almost kind of go, are you male or female sometimes to you when they talk to you, because being a Mobius, you can choose your avatar. So I almost think that the main character, the reason they say that is that you could easily be, you know, male or female while playing the game, and you could choose male or female avatars. So they never say, "Oh, you're clearly this or this." They're just like, they usually go, "Oh, maybe you're this, but I'm not sure," because you're the main character. You don't talk too much. You're a silent protagonist, even though you choose dialogue that highlights and you can talk to them as is with your responses. But you know, I mean, technically you don't talk very much. You know, so, but yeah, it's assumed, I think the reason is because it's supposed to be you, the player, is playing the avatar there, so they never assume anything until, you know, like, I don't even think by the end of the game did they do that as well. We got some level 80s here I can fight, but I'm not going to do that. Oh, is this just an isolated room for the spheres? Okay. Like I said, if I decide to keep playing after the end of the game, I'll do that, but I think most of the stuff I've been doing is just stuff to kind of make the end of the game a little bit easier. Yeah, this is you can see how uninteresting this is. Yeah, I could be fighting every single boss to level, every encounter to level, but even then, that's probably one of the many faults of this game. Is just the dungeons are uninspired, to say the least. It's just, I don't know, they're just really uninteresting. There's a few dungeons that are a little bit more interesting because like how you move through them and stuff like that, but I mean, in this game, there's really not much to say about these dungeons. They're just the same assets over and over and over again. You know, just replaced in a different way. And I'm not expecting every dungeon to be like super designed and set up and all this other stuff, but I don't know. It's just, this is the problem I had with a lot of JRPGs, is that the dungeon design was not pathetic, but it was just boring, and I was just, you know, I mean, I do play these games for more the story, but there has to be something in between. You're not gonna get story all the time, otherwise I'd read a book. You know, I didn't expect to fight IP early. He's one of the later musicians we fight. Oh yeah, and each of the musicians had like a beef with one of the characters. Did I show that during the intro? I don't know if I did. There was a scene where all the musicians point to all the main characters and go, "Oh, I want them." But yet, you know, like, anyway. Yeah, him and Ike P. His big thing is he was basically. Oh well, maybe I should wait till he explains it himself. But change your destiny, huh? Okay, there we go. Your face was big. Basically, in the real world, he was. I don't know if you'd say he was super ugly, but he wasn't considered a pretty boy. And it was, and his story was, no matter how much he changed or tried to make himself look better, he would never get the adoration of people who were born beautiful. That's why he has an issue with Azuru there, because he was born a pretty boy, and he was jealous of that. So. Now he sounds different, so he must be being controlled. Yeah, Nanako or whatever. You're kind of a troll, aren't you? Naruko, that's it. Naruko? Naruto? No. Let us not speak the name. My bad. Yeah, she is kind of cruel. KO him in one punch. Asura or whatever? You're not quite the Thousand Iron God. Yeah. Alright, let's beat this guy like we do everyone else. And the game, the nice thing about the game is that the game does take off the auto option. If you go into a boss fight, just say, hey, you might not want to go into this fight, like just spamming the button. Maybe you want to think about this, and then actually I'll buff myself and then fight. The buff I've been using is the it raises your accuracy and your crit. And in this game, you don't gain stuff by leveling. You get whatever stat increase you get by leveling, but your skills and all that, you have to buy those by using skill points or whatever. And you get skill points by leveling people up. And you actually don't get a lot of skill points for level up. You only get like +3 skills for every level up, and some of the abilities cost quite a bit to level. And you're probably thinking, wait, can you even buy up your skills then because of that? Because some of them are really expensive. You can, but this game has a feature where you can get some of the regular college students to join your team, because some of them you need to do something like get them to level 20 or kill 20 enemies with them in the group or whatever, and they have to join your team, and every time they level up you get +3 skill points, and so that's how you're supposed to get like a ton of skill points to level up all your dudes, is by putting regular generics into your group and leveling them up. And that can't be too bad if you go to like one of the higher end dungeons and just leave it and put them in the back or whatever, because you auto heal at the beginning of every fight, so you don't have to worry about healing items and stuff like that. And you always get the experience, even if you die during combat too. So there's that as well. So that's the way you're supposed to be able to afford all those stats. You're supposed to grab randos and level them up, and then that way you can afford maxing out all your skills and everything like that. Back to normal. Well, as normal could be anyway. She used you, dude. But there's, you know, some people like being used by hot goth chicks. You know? I mean, don't we, from story-wise, don't we know her identity? I mean, well, I mean, we'll wait till it gets to that point. Oh, a he, huh? Well, that at this point, it's not surprising because some of the, like I said, Sweet Pea was a dude, like an old fat dude, so why not, right? Maybe a he, huh? Well, they, I mean, as much as people want to say, sometimes men and women speak differently. Like, they say the same things, but they have, certain men and women have different mannerisms. Now, you can learn to have those mannerisms, you know, just saying, if you were just straight up, if you didn't do anything and talked or whatever, you could kind of tell certain mannerisms from a person, or maybe they may be male or female, but... What did he realize, huh? What about it? What about Minazawa? I guess they want to be friends. Yeah, Minazawa's big thing is he, well, I guess we'll protect something. Well, the way to the final boss, right? Yeah, guard doors, huh? Use keys to open blue doors, or however it goes. Well, we're the main guys, or maybe I guess we're the main good guys. Of course, we're not gonna let Thorn beat us. Thorn, that sounds like a name I've heard before, like not in this game, but like in either a villain or something like that in like a cartoon series or something like that, maybe. Yeah, there's really no reason. My OCD is just like wants me to finish the room or collect everything in the room or whatever, or you know, unlock all of it or something like that. I'm surprised. Well, I guess the game is assumed we've already heard the plot or everything like that, but I mean, basically we're just trying to leave this place, and Thorn doesn't want us to leave, which I don't get why. Even after playing the game, I don't get why she doesn't want us to leave. Like, why not just stick? Why just not like let us leave? But you know, you do whatever you do in here. But the main reason we want to leave, other than the obvious, oh, this isn't a real world, blah blah blah. They find out that during the course of this game, people who are in this place get a thing called astral syndrome, which means they still live in the real world, but they're seen as like barely hanging on, like they're lethargic. They don't do much. They kind of just live day by day with little to no personality because they've been put into the Mobius world. It's kind of weird to explain. Basically, it's like their souls have been ganked and put into Mobius or whatever. But over the course of however long being in here, you can eventually die from being in here from either malnutrition or other such things. So the main characters want to get out before it's like too late that they won't be able to go back, you know, because they'll die from being stuck in here for too long. Like, most of the characters here have people who are taking care of them at home, but yeah, they'll eventually die. And as far as I understand it, story-wise, and I think they explained at the beginning of the game, but it's assumed that the characters have been in this place for about a year in Mobius, until like a lot of them started realizing that they were in this fake world to begin with. So that's crazy that they've been. So I guess you can be in here longer than a year before your body like starts falling apart because you've been in here for too long, you know, that type of thing. But yeah, it's been about a year. I don't know about the main character. We're not sure. You just have that thing at the beginning where Yu tells you that, oh, I made this all for you, and all this other stuff. Which Yu is, oh, here's Stork, the the mimicker.
今近くで声が
Yeah, we heard his voice.
落ち着いてみんな変態
Yeah, the pervert. This basically he's the peeper character. He can. His whole episode takes place in a bathhouse. Surprise, surprise.
君たちのそばにいるよ。
And he gets the nosebleed that's typical of like Japanese anime and all this other stuff. Did you say eyes or legs? Which Ayane is not a fan of that because she's got. I'll have to look up her stat thing again. Basically, she has extreme fear of men. Which when I look over her stats, I'll show you. Oh. Yeah, Stork has the ability to mimic stuff, so he can just appear anywhere in the room and look like a chair or whatever.
トリカが本物だから早く
Ayane's character is one of those that you get why she is what she is when she explains it to you, but it's almost to the point of like you almost get super annoyed by her, or maybe not hate her, but you're like, okay, you can shut up now, that type of thing. Even though it's a fear she has, you know, but because like as if you pick a male character, or male avatar, I guess is the best example. She like until you finish her storyline or whatever, she's like, once you stay back, is annoyed at you. All men are the worst, that type of thing. But it's not from a sense of like, it's from a sense of her phobia, which explains why. But you can get why people might get annoyed by her really quickly, you know, even when they explain it to her. Yep, Stork is a very big peeper. His story is that, yeah, he basically likes to peep on people. He was a cop in the real world that peeps on people. But basically, cop by day and peeper by night is basically his big thing because he gets a thrill. He gets a thrill out of almost being caught. Like that's. Aw, man, his whip attack stunned me, so I didn't even get in my buff. Yeah, sometimes the enemies will have certain attacks that'll just stun you. Oh yeah, I forgot my buff takes up a lot of SP to use to cast it, or whatever. The certain abilities will just straight up stun you if they hit. Obviously, it's based off avoidance and all this other stuff, but because I'm such a high level, I don't care about getting stunned. I can just keep. I mean, there would have been ways for me to avoid it if I actually paid attention to the fight. I could have dashed my character somewhere, and he would have missed me and all this other stuff. But like I said, at this point of the game, I don't really care. I'm just gonna spam attack and show you. I might, for the final boss, I might actually swap out my characters a bit and put the party that I'm most used to. Should swap them. Actually, I haven't been fighting anyone, so I haven't been building up my super ability or whatever, my special attacks. No, you're not quite dead yet. You might be dead if you let Ayane get to you. Oh yeah, you've been peeping, dude, but you have a hard time. Some people just have a hard time not peeping. Nope, won't learn anything. It's hard not being a peeper. Oh wait, yeah it is. At least for me anyway. Yeah, we don't really get much from him. There's no like big old... As far as I know, there wasn't really a big scene with him with any of the major characters because he's the pervert character. Usually most anime, game, or whatever, or manga, usually have one character that's like a super pervert, usually. Or hentai, I guess, are they say in the game. Yeah, I can find a musician. Alright, how many more is left? So we got... That was 4. So we should have... 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see.
へえちゃんとここまで来られたんだ途中でのたれ死ぬと思ったのに
Yeah, we should have 4 people left, apart from the villain, apart from the Thorn and you. Oh, and Mira's basically the super hoity-toity, I'm better than you, queen personality, you know, the female character. And her and Kotono here are the ones that have the issues with each other. The funny thing about her area she goes to is that you have to have a contest of who's the best girl, and you find out that you have to convince all these guys to like basically vote for Kotono to win, and you have to convince these judges to let her win by doing things like stepping on them or calling them garbage, or I forgot what the other thing. One wanted them to step on them. One of them wanted to call them trash. Oh, and one of them wanted to give them an evil glare. You know, there was a whole joke about how like Oh, we got a two-person fighting this time. But it was actually one of the more comical stories, just because of the whole, it was a whole episode about femdom basically, and how some guys like that. Hey, if you like that, I'm not kink shaming. This is Wicked. Wicked is basically a psychopath. Her story is basically she's, her parents treated her badly, and she ended up in an accident that caused her to become comatose. So she's basically a vegetable in the real world. So going to the real world is death for her. So there's really no reason for her to. There's no reason for her to want to go back to the real world because of that. and she's got the whole heart for her irises emoji, but she's crazy chick that's got like bomb grenades and a sizzling bit of dynamite in her portrait. Parsley. Yeah, she's one of the few villains of the game that has like almost no redeeming qualities to her at all. Hell, during her storyline, she basically locks the main characters in a room for 3 days without food, and tries to get them to betray each other, and then tries to put them all to sleep so she can kill them while they're sleeping. So, yeah, that was pretty messed up. All right, time to fight the queen and the psychopath. I think her actual psychology or psychostat or whatever is psychopath or whatever. But I can show you a bit about that later. All right, time to fight a two-person fight this time. Actually, let's show off my. I don't think I should. Well, did I show this during the? I didn't watch that video. I didn't watch that video before I did this. So every character has a thing called, if you build up your stress level to the max, that's what they call it in this game. You can do basically an overdose ability or whatever, which does like a ton of damage. So might as well show it off. So at least the main characters. I don't know if I'll be able to show off the rest of them by the end of the game, but I can at least show the main characters. I'll just have to keep attacking. I've always thought it was interesting that in this game the main character has a gun. Usually in most RPGs they usually give the main character a sword. So that was kind of a nice twist that the main character doesn't get a sword this time. It's a gun. Who needs courage when you have a gun? I may or may not need to. I may have to actually have some strategy here maybe, because Kinsuke is almost dead. There is ways to prevent damage, like by healing, using emergency barriers, and stuff like that. Although I've almost defeated Mirai, so I don't know if I really need to worry about that. Maybe. Will that finish her off? Okay, we'll just do that. Yeah. Okay, for a second I was thinking maybe I might have to actually do some strategy or do some buffing or healing or whatever, but nope. Although Kinsuke doesn't have a ton of defense, which is weird. He's a frontline fighter. I mean, you could give him defense and everything like that, but oh, dude, my character's almost dead. Yeah, I've almost beaten her anyway, so she's almost out. The rest of the characters should auto. Actually, I go pretty fast. The attacks I use are like almost instantaneous if you use your basic attack. They're not the most powerful, but they usually go pretty quick, and usually my turn comes up a lot faster. But I do have some abilities equipped on me that reduces my turn cooldown a bit. So Mirai, her thing is she used to be a part of a rich aristocrat type of thing, and then their family went on hard times, and so she was basically abandoned, and I don't know if I'd say sold, but basically she had to work for like a lower company to survive, but her parents basically ran off after that, and so she basically went from being a queen to a pauper, and if she goes back to the real world, that's basically what she ends up being again, so that's why she didn't want to go back. And obviously I told you what happens to Wicked there. Yeah, her name's Wicked, or at least that's what she calls herself anyway. No, they chose to do this. Yeah. They don't want to go back to the real world, even if whatever happens, happens. Well, we have to just beat them, otherwise we won't be able to get home. If we don't get home, we'll be stuck in here, and well, let's just say things. I mean, we'll find out at the end, but. Oh yeah, Naruko and Wicked had a thing because Wicked during her stay was pretending to be her friend, like one of her friends at school, but then during their encounter with her, she, used her to take advantage of the group.
戦い続きで
Yeah, we have a lot of fights, dude.
規模から言っても
そう
We're almost done.
ここから
Oh
先は
yeah,
出せない
Kuchinashi. Oh, there's one character in our group that I haven't talked about yet because we don't have him anymore. She's involved with this character. His name was Eiji Burasawa or whatever his name was. He ended up being, spoilers for his character, he ended up being a psychopath as well, who ended up trying to kill her dad, and the guy he hired, instead of just straight up killing him, burnt the house to the ground, because he wanted to keep the, he was embezzling money from her family, basically, and he didn't want to get caught, so he tried to kill the account for that account, and but he's dead, and AG dies off screen, like during a fight with one of the villains. He gets like shards of glass fall from the building we're fighting on, and he gets killed off screen. That was so anticlimactic. It's just he dies. I'm like, I was just like, what? He died off screen? We didn't even really confront him at the. I mean, we confront him if you do his storyline, but I don't know. Anyway, she's part. She was in the house that burned down from that guy. So here she says, Biosaka. Yeah, he's already dead. Yeah.
私の大切なものは
Yeah, he died. He died off screen. Glass fell from the building we were fighting on, and it killed him.
気がしてたのに
I'm like,
あの
okay.
ことは礼を
And I think he dies even if you don't do his storyline, because if you do his storyline, he leaves the group prematurely. But I think, according to what I've seen online, he dies anyway, because this game I'm playing here is a redo of the same game for the PSP, but this version has some extra content that the original game didn't have. So if you want the full version of the game, you might want to play this version of the game. Keep going to set to auto. Because most of us are going to hit him. Most of the AI does a pretty decent job if you just need to browbeat stuff. It won't do a lot of complicated strategies, mind you, but they'll usually do the stuff that's the most effective for the most part. That'll work anyway, so. But yeah, she can't talk with her own voice, so she wears basically a respirator. Well, it's not a respirator, it's just a mask she wears. Because her own voice is like, the fire almost killed her too, scarred her and that type of stuff. But she lost her whole family in the fire. So obviously, there's nothing for her to go back to. Her family's dead, so, going back to reality is basically... I mean, it's not a death sentence, but it's like, she has nothing to fight for there. There's nothing to really warrant it, so... And of course the guy who was her well, maybe not her initial tormentor, but was a part of like what caused her life to be shit. She didn't even kill herself. He just, like I said, died off screen. That's probably one of the few disappointments of this game, is that, like, I don't know, there wasn't a big scene where they ended up talking with each other after everything comes out of the closet, because if you don't do the Biwasaki, like, looks like Ayane died. If you don't do the Biwasaka storyline, I think he dies anyway, and you don't even find out like that he's actually, a psychopath or whatever. Oh, no! I almost did 3 episodes of soul charging. Whoops. Alright, we beat her. Yay, we feel better about ourselves.
何があっても
Yeah, like I said, she can't.
ですが
It's her sanctuary.
そんな
I don't know why they're fighting for this so badly, because, if Thorn's plan comes together, this place will eventually crumble anyway. But whatever.
周辺にどんどん負の感情が満ちて
Negative emotions, huh? That's how Yu gets her power. The more negative emotions are, the powerful she gets, while Arya here gets more power off positive emotions.
今このシメアの歌声が
本当はミュウも現実を破壊したくなんかない。
道のりは長かった
Yeah, Yu's one of those characters when you first start the game, she's like all light and bubbly, and she's like, I generally want to help people, but by the end of the game, her personality like almost 180s. And not because she was secretly like this, they explain that that the negative emotions she absorbs to try and help people eventually overcame her, basically.
どんな結末でも
Alright, oop, and this is the, I think this is the final save point before we fight the final boss here. So, well, final boss is. So, whoops. Oh. Oh, let me let that thing go. Yeah, Shogo, the guy with the weird haircut that we talked about that looked like weirder than he should have been. He has a direct ties to Thorn. You find out over the course of the game. Okay, let me go and make a save. I'll make a different save than before. So that way, I mean, even though the game has a clear plus mode or clear mode and all this other stuff, I still want to have to be a separate file. Anyway, okay, so if I'm going to do the final area, let me swap out the party members, I guess. And you, really, I don't really have any super optimized version of the ending, so if you, or of my character, so you could probably play, as long as you're generally smarter about it, I think you should be fine with, let's see, she's frontline, backline, so I need a frontline character. Might make it a Zuru, I think. Because Ayane's a frontline fighter, but a lot of her abilities are basically about blocking and well, okay, I'm not doing a very good explanation. The game did a better explanation of like what each character does and like what they're good at. Like some of the first characters you get are better at like straight up just attacking and using their abilities, but then there's some that are better at creating risk or attacking people during opportune attacks and stuff like that. Make sure everyone's at least equipped with something on there. I haven't really equipped a lot of my characters with my passives because I was just finding them over the course of the game. And oops, I accidentally over-equipped someone's ability. I don't know who I accidentally equipped over, but I'm just gonna equip them with stats. I don't even care at this point. I don't care because there's such small differences. They're not gonna make a big difference in this fight anyway. So I'm just gonna equip them with all my any passives I've got. And most of them have the best, if not the, like, close to the best abilities in the game, or attacks. Or if there is an attack, look at this, it's like a 51 attack and then 64. Now you think, oh, that's a decent difference. But in combat, it's not that much. Numbers-wise, it's not the biggest difference. Most of the big things that'll affect a thing are the percentage passives that you get. Like, the main character has, like, accuracy plus 5%, which at higher levels is better. But I've got, like, cast time minus 30%. I don't know if these two stack. I don't think they do, actually. So you probably don't want to have multiple cast times adjusted. But yeah, I've got turn cooldown 20%. That's probably why my main character gets his turns a little bit faster than everyone else does. I think you could probably do this without even doing a lot of the student stuff. You could probably skip a lot of that if you guys don't want to mess with it, you know. But each student has like a, I don't know if I showed this before, but before we fight the final boss, you know, like all the students will have like, basically they'll have the trauma, which it'll describe what it is, and then on the top it describes what it's called. Anomalous love or whatever. And then you have to do something for them. In this case, you have to equip an ability on them called Kiss and Tell that fixes their issue. And then you get a reward, which in this one raises my defense personality, goes up a bit. And each of them do that, so you can, over the course of the game, do that to either get different passes or skills or whatever. You might do at least a handful of them. I wouldn't say do all of them, because at some point they all get... it gets a bit ridiculous, but it gets kind of boring doing the same thing over and over and over again. So, alright, before we fight the final boss and get the... Well, there's two final bosses, but you know what I mean. If you're playing this version of the game, you're going to want to go back out of the dungeon and take care of like one thing before, although you could probably do it on the clear data as well. I'm not going to do it because I want to save that for the alternate ending, which I don't think the alternate ending is even in the PSP version of the game, or Vita version of the game, but okay. So let's go over the characters really quick. Shogo, one of the first people to join you, he has bereavement is his trauma. His trauma has to deal with Thorn specifically, but basically he had a loved one commit suicide that he wasn't there for, and he suffers greatly for it. So his big thing in the story is over the course of his stay here, he was always seeing the girl who died, who committed suicide over and over and over again, and it messed him up pretty badly. But yeah, each character, when you max out, when you get their affinity to soulmate, which is their character stories are finished, you'll get soulmate that unlocks like what they actually are, like what their gender actually is, what their their actual age actually is, their secret, and their true personality. If you don't do that, let me show you a blank character that doesn't have any. Let's see. I know there's some people I haven't gotten any points with yet. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it just looks like this if you don't have any stats with them, so you don't know what their secret, personality, or trauma is until you actually talk to them. But yeah, his is bereavement because the character died, and you get there's a final ability if you do that. So you at least want to do that with all the characters that join your team. Now in this game, kind of like in Persona, well, actually no, Persona I think you can make a mess up, but you could still earn the points back eventually. It just wouldn't be optimum. In this game, if you, in certain character routes, if you say the wrong thing, you can actually kick yourself out of their route, which isn't the end of the world, but if you're trying to go for completion or trophy stuff, you might have to save before you do the character just to make sure you don't mess it up. The game pretty much tells you if you mess up, though, so don't worry too much about that part. But she is a... okay, so Shizuna, her thing is that she was a quiet socialist girl, had very little social skills, but she had friends in middle school, but when she became a high school, she lost all those friends because, you know, different schools and all that. And then she was told that the things she liked were not cool, and then she ended up getting ostracized, and now she didn't want to eat or talk to people, and she'd eat in the bathroom, basically. And her thing is called lunchmate syndrome, which I've never heard that before, if that's an actual thing. But she's actually 16 and female, so she's one of the few characters that kind of probably looks as she is in the game. A lot of characters are different, like Shogo is actually 30, even though he acts like a 17-year-old or whatever in the in the game. And then let's see, Azuru, he was basically, his mother did everything in his life, so he's got schizoid personality disorder. Basically means he has a little to no personality because his mom basically did everything in his life for him without giving him much choice. And the only thing he did, that his big thing, was he cut himself to give himself the one of the few choices in the whole game. And so he cut up his beautiful face to show that he could make decisions. Yeah, but he's actually 17 and male. Most of the main characters, they're pretty close to what they are, except for like Shogo, I think, and like one other character. Kotaro, his big thing is he's actually younger than he looks. He's only 14, and he's a small child. So he's minuscule because the family, his father had died, his father and mother had died, and he was given to his relatives, but they treated him like crap, so they didn't feed him well enough. So he's got a small body, small and low physique. So he's actually tinier than he actually is. And he's got a messiah complex because of that. But he wants to become a rescue worker, basically. But because of his size, that's hard to do. So Kensuke was a musician. His basically thing is he has no talent. And he's afraid of growing up because he might not be able to survive in the world as that because, Peter Pan wants to stay as a child, basically the whole thing. And he also has no, apparently he doesn't have any known skills because when he was a musician, you gave him all his musical abilities. But he's actually 19 in the real world, so he's a little bit older than a high school student. Kotono, her big thing is she's got a Cinderella complex, so she is a single mother. So she had a child when she was like, I think when she said she was like 17 or something like that, so she had a child before she wanted to be a parent in the first place, so she was kind of forced responsibility on her. And her thing is she escaped into the world to not be a responsible adult to raise her child. So yeah, that was one of the bigger twists is when you find out she's actually a single mom. Not that nothing wrong with being a single mom, just that, all these high school students, that maybe some of them have some other problems or other family outside of the game. But yeah, she's 23 years old and she has a child at home, so she wants to go home to raise her son now. Naruko, she's internet addicted. Yeah, that was pretty obvious. But her big thing is she was a troll in real life because she had to go with the flow and what other people thought, didn't have much decisions on her own. She thought she'd only have fun by being a troll, basically. But now she wants to write stories and be her own self now, and that's why she wants to leave. That's her big thing. Mifu, Mifu, she has dysmophobia, which is basically she is afraid of. When I first heard her story, I thought she was anorexic because she didn't want to get fat because her mom was fat, basically, and she didn't want to be like her mom because like something happened to her that she didn't want to be overweight like her mom, so she decided to not eat or drink. So she basically put herself in the hospital for hypoglycemia because of that. So she almost killed herself because she had an issue with fat people. Now she doesn't, obviously. I thought she was overweight in the real world. That's why she hated overweight people, because that's what she was, and she was ashamed of her body, that type of thing. So it's not quite the same, but yeah, that was another twist there, especially when she started hating on fat people for no reason. I was like, geez, what if fat people run over you or something like that, or kill your parent? It was like almost, really, when you think about it. But yeah, she wants to apologize to her mom when she gets back to the real world. That's a big thing. And yeah, she's 17, so she's like one of the few people that's the same age. And then we got Ayane, who has heterophobia, which is fear of men, basically, or the opposite sex. Basically, she's afraid of it because she was an idol, a former underground idol. Her friend got witnessed being attacked by a man that bashed her friend in the face with a metal bat, and she ended up dying from her injuries. And the man who killed her was the man Eiji, the psychopath, hired to kill his accountant. And the guy was a lawyer, and he got the guy who killed this idol off, but he said, hey, I could overturn it unless you do this thing for me. So 4 characters have like a kind of a direct tie into each other, which I thought was kind of interesting. But yeah, her story is basically her getting over her fear of men, or fear and hatred, really. It's kind of a bit of both. And she doesn't get completely over it, but and she wants to get over it because her father was super supportive of her, always tried to take care of her, even if because she was so afraid of men, they had to isolate her because he couldn't be there, because otherwise it caused her to have trauma or whatever. But he kept taking care of her, writing her letters, and making sure that she was living her life, and she wants to basically get her remitted so she could get close to her father again. So it's one of the few times where the father was the good guy and didn't cause any trouble, but she wants to get over that. So, all right, with that out of the way, let's encounter Thorn and leave this place. Yep, I'm ready to go. Let's finish this. Let's stay in Mobius. This is the Go Home Club's last hurrah.